In this part of the episode, I would like to talk about how we compare fractions. If we have two fractions, how can we tell which one of them is bigger and which one of them is smaller? Now, when you have two fractions and you want to compare their size, the easiest way to do that, in my opinion, is to make sure that both of them have the same denominator first. First things first, rewrite both fractions so they have the same denominator. Make sure, in other words, that the pieces that you're dealing with are the same size for both fractions. Once your pieces are the same size, because the denominators of the fraction are the same, once the pieces are the same size, all you have to do is compare the numerators. Because if the pieces are exactly the same size, then the person with the most pieces wins, right? If the pieces are the same size, the quantity with the most pieces is larger. So let me give you an example. I want to compare which of these quantities is bigger, 1 over 3 or 1 over 4. Now, in a problem this simple, I think you can actually answer this question, first of all, just by drawing, right? If I had a pizza that I cut into 3 pieces versus if I had a pizza that I cut into 4 pieces, if I gave somebody 1 piece out of the first pizza versus 1 piece out of the second pizza, the person in the left picture is going to be getting a lot more pizza than this person in the picture on the right. So because of that, if I was going to compare these two, I could say that 1/3 is bigger just based on the picture. Alternatively, if I wanted to answer this question using this technique, I would start by trying to rewrite these two fractions so that both of them had exactly the same denominator. Now, when we are rewriting fractions, we know that we are only allowed to multiply and divide the numerator and denominator of that fraction by the same quantity. So I want to multiply 1/3 by some number, and I want to multiply 1/4 by some number, so that in the end, the results of both of those products have the same denominator. So one really easy way to do that, to get two fractions to have the same denominator, is to just use fraction number two's denominator over here and just use fraction number one's denominator over here. If I multiply 3 by 4 and 4 by 3, both of those results will end up the same. I'll get a denominator of 12 in both cases. And if I multiply the fraction 1 over 3 by 4 in the numerator and denominator, the 1 over 4 becomes, the 1 times 4 becomes 4 in the numerator, and the 3 times 1 becomes 3 in this numerator. So now my pieces are exactly the same size. Both pieces are exactly the same size because I have a denominator that's the same, 12 in both cases. And since my pieces are the same size, I just have to check to see who has more pieces in the end. And what I can see is that this fraction here has more pieces. I ended up with 4 pieces out of 12 as compared to only 3 pieces out of 12. And since I have more pieces here, that's another way to show that 1/3 is the bigger amount than 1/4 is. Let's try that again. Comparing the fractions 2/5 and 3/7. I'm going to take 2/5 and I'm going to take 3/7, and I'm going to basically sort of exchange their denominators a little bit. And I'm going to take the denominator of the second fraction and I'm going to multiply it to the first one. And I'm going to take the denominator of the first fraction and I'm going to multiply it to the second one. And if I do this, then that will cause both of the results to have exactly the same denominator in the end. 5 times 7, 7 times 5, both of those give you 35 in the end. So now all the pieces are exactly the same size. Let's check how many pieces we get for each of these fractions. Fraction number 1, 2 times 7 gives me 14 pieces. Fraction number 2, 3 times 5 gives me 15 pieces. So here I have additional pieces. I have more pieces out of the 35, and therefore this fraction, 3/7, is the bigger fraction. And one more time. Someone says to me, which fraction is bigger, 1/3 or 4/9? All I have to do is take the fraction 1/3 and the fraction 4/9 and change each of them so that they have the same denominator in the end. Now, one way to do that for sure would be to multiply this guy by 9 and this guy by 3, but I think there's an easier way. I can get the denominator of 1/3 to be 9 really easily just by hitting both the numerator and the denominator by an extra 3. That gives me 3/9. So now I can compare these two quantities. 3 out of 9 is worse than 4 out of 9. 4 out of 9 gives me more pizza. This is the bigger quantity.